Damn, Dad, you looking fresh as hell, boy. See, it's a good thing he bought her the expensive bag, because if he would have came home in the expensive drip and she had some rundown, raggedy-ass bag, she would have said, "You're not my real dad, mofo. Go get me the Gucci." So today we're going to be breaking down Old Country Bumpkin and Master Swordsman episode 10. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, share your support, consider subscribing if you're new around here. And hey, if you want to go the extra mile, of course, we do have the Patreon where we got the full and cut live reactions over there exclusively. So let's jump into this. So I overall really enjoyed this episode. I love my Mue and Beryl experience, but there's something that has me concerned, and that is Rose. So the thing is I want to say, no, there'd be no reason, because if she was a traitor, she wouldn't have to worry because they would just poison themselves. But the thing is there's plenty of cases in our own history where people would keep a cyanide pill in their tooth and all different things, but they wouldn't always be able to get to that self-sacrifice in time. And once you see one person kill themselves, they would quickly be like, don't let them bite down. So it's entirely possible that the look she gave at the end of the episode, combined with the fact that Beryl says, she never used to attack like that. She would only do that if she was in danger. She would never just like stab someone in the head unless she had to. Combine that with the look of her, it looked menacing. Could it be a red herring? Could it be a misdirect? Of course, but I don't think so. I think we're going to learn that Rose maybe is trying to silence those people because she's involved with them. But my question is, how do we go from loving student to, seemingly still loving her teacher to now going against royalty? I mean, hey, it's been years since she saw Beryl. I mean, she could have been involved with some pretty shady people, potentially. But either way, that does have me concerned. It very well could be a misdirect, but I'm suspicious. If it was just the look, I would have been, like, raising my suspicion, but I wouldn't have hoisted it to the very top. But combined with the fact that Beryl said she never used to fight like that, which sure, she's been away from Beryl for some time, it leaves me concerned. But, I'm sure there'll be some people who say, well, there'd be no reason for her to silence the person if she had to, because they would just kill themselves. The thing is not necessarily. They very much were stumped, like, what was happening, but by the time they realized, they're like, oh shit, we can't do anything. But there are so many cases where you have a group of people trying to off themselves so they don't get captured and, tortured for information, and you save one because you stop them from biting. Like, you stick something in their mouth. Not in the fun way, maybe you shove your hand or an object just to prevent them from activating the poison, right? So that very well could happen, and at that point, you can't go ahead and slice their throat. Well, probably she would have. If we would have saved one, I imagine we would have found that prisoner with their throat slit. But in that moment, it doesn't necessarily look that bad because this is a group of assassins stabbing him in the head there. I mean, she might have been like, whoops, I was just fighting for my life. So there's suspicion there, but if they do go that route, that will be far more interesting than just always bringing in one of his former students who can do no wrong, right? It is funny though, because I have seen a lot of people say, damn, this guy has a lot of students. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, I mean, we've seen flashbacks, and there's usually like 20 people in his dojo at a time, and as far as we know, he's been teaching for like 20 or 25 years. If we do the math, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of his students out there, so it kind of makes sense. But I really enjoyed this episode, and there's two things that really stand out to me, outside of obviously that insane ending. The first of which is the thing I come back to the most, which is the Mue as well as Beryl relationship. I think as a father-daughter story, it's one of the best I've seen. And there isn't too many shows that truly have that straight-up father-daughter stuff. The most recent one for me would be something like Buddy Daddies, which I absolutely adore. And one I would constantly think about is, I think it was called Sweetness and Lightning. It was about a dad who's raising a daughter after the wife dies, right? And it's a very touching show. It's very, very good. But there's not a lot of just straight up like familia, father-daughter, don't go weird with it, just straight up. And especially because this is an adoptive storyline, he doesn't have to be this sweet, but he is. And I just love the idea that every episode they seemingly are giving us that like 5 minutes of them just bonding. And I've seen so many source readers, and I'm talking actual source readers, the light novel of course, who will come in and say, actually, that really wasn't in the light novel, but it's a great addition. And I love seeing that because, of course, manga readers are still saying, oh, they're not adapting my version of the story. But it's like, okay, but it's a different version. It is what it is. I love seeing, though, light novel readers say, yeah, actually, this was much further ahead, but they brought it earlier so you understand, what they did. or they're saying, oh, this is actually brand new. But I love seeing that because that is legitimately my favorite part of the show. You could just focus on these two's relationship and I would be a happy camper. And I love the idea that she finally opens up about her schooling. And, you know, what really got her going is she's like, man, I'm just done with it. It's too much. She's like super overstimulated, and it's because she has friends who are showing her around the school, and everywhere she goes, like, the school's too big, the library's too, the books are this large, it's just too much for me. And Barrel's just sitting there like a proud dad, and I just absolutely adore him. But the other thing I really like, which from the beginning of the show, I've complimented the swordplay of this series, and there's plenty of YouTubers and people who are actually really good into martial arts and different swords training styles who have complimented the show and actually done deep dives. So if you're more interested, just, you know, take a peek on YouTube. There's plenty of people doing that. But I really loved it in the 2D because I'm like, damn, it's not just the easiest way to explain it. Most anime sword fights, the characters have unlimited endurance and they just swing their sword around willy-nilly. They never get winded or wounded unless they're getting kicked in the head, which realistically, that's not how swordplay works. And in the 2D, they did such a good job, and then midway through the show, like many productions, you see more 3D. But unlike most shows where now that we have more 3D, it feels like the productions kind of went down. No, the 3D's great. This is still among some of the best 3D, ignoring obviously something like a 2B Hero X. Like, that's in its league of its own, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves. But the idea that most of the time the 3D looks almost just like you pulled the 2D image slightly into another dimension. It just looks so anime without feeling like a 3D model. It's hard to explain, but if you really focus in, you probably see what I'm saying. The fight in this episode was all 3D, and I didn't miss the 2D at all. The fact that they've consistently kept the sword fights feel realistic, characters are grabbing cloaks and capes, pulling, they're kicking people in the nuts, and best of all too, the fact that the characters have to take breaks mid-fight. So if you're throwing around a long sword, a great sword, daggers, whatever, and you're constantly dodging and, you know, fighting for your life, you can't go unlimited. Most likely after 30 seconds, you're both going to take a break, catch your breath, try to figure out, okay, well, how can I attack this person, and then keep going. They're not superhuman shonen characters. They feel like humans. And the best part too is, you know, the fact that swords are getting caught on the hilts and stuff, like, they're actually fighting as if people understand how a realistic swordplay would go. It's just really impressive what they've been able to do, and the fact that we've gone from some of the best sword fighting I've seen in 2D that's now evolved into some of the best sword fighting I've seen in 3D is really impressive, and the music and everything is just absolutely top tier. I think they're going to be ending this season on a sort of former student got herself into some sticky situations, we gotta rescue her, she'll probably be back on the good side before too long, or she just becomes a psycho bitch, I don't know what. But either way, great episode, very impressive, but yeah, I'm slightly concerned about Rose, and it's too early to check Reddit or anything, because, you know, comments don't exist, because I watch this literally right when it comes out, and it's not like a Demon Slayer level popularity, so you have to let me know what you thought down below. Do you agree with my theory on what's going on, or do you have a different one? Do let me know. Of course, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. Head over to the Patreon if you want to see my full live reactions, and all my patrons do get a personal video shout out as well. So today we got Ari Hakakushi, Kenneth Dade, Wayne Eldequist, Chrome Elron, Cillian, Old Man, David, Luke Brownfield, Devin Diego, and we also have Ashley Hawkham. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You'll have a good one.